Well, it was breaking.
Yeah, I start fucking kicking off again.
What
Hi.
boys? What boys?
Hi everyone, how you doing? Woo!
Hey boomers. Still use Facebook?
See if I can get my laptop
What boys?
to
What
wake up.
boys? What boys? What boys? Problem is, everyone's out of bed now. We should probably do it earlier when people are still in bed.
It's raining.
I'd
So
love to wake. Oh, people probably are still in bed. Love to wake up to
rain.
this.
It's not like anyone's doing anything.
Still haven't worked out how to do it in horizontal mode. What's that called? Landscape. It's hard to social distance in portrait. But I actually do. I have 2 metre long arms, so I'm actually.
Yeah.
That's how I do my measurements. I add on 1.5 metres.
What's a metre and a half long?
I don't want to talk about it. Don't want to gloat.
Oh, sorry.
Talking about my knob. I've got a massive.
I'll just take my hoodie off.
Speaking of massive,
Belly. We've been talking about this, Jez. I really can't watch Ricky Gervais's Afterlife because I'll blob.
mm-hmm. It's a failed
failed
rockstar club. Well, there's an important point there. I don't know if you haven't watched it because
No.
you would. I guarantee you will blub. I blubbed 2-3 times, but I did so against my. I felt like I was being manipulated into the blubbing.
He's pulling your strings. He knows what he's doing.
It's laid on very thick. The music is very kind of
Emotive.
heartstring tugging, and nothing really happens. I was a bit kind of. I mean, I cried, so I must have been emotionally invested, but I didn't feel like. Compared to like The Office, which is all about the detail and the nuance, and there's the realism. This doesn't quite. It's obviously. I mean, it's still powerful because it made me be nice to my wife
Really?
for one night.
Well,
At the very
do you think
least.
it's the same as Derek? Because when I watched Derek, I felt the same way. Like I know he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like the music, particularly, and the kind of tugging in your heartstrings moments.
It's cut from the same cloth.
It's kind of like all these kind of things that you know people will kind of feel emotion about. Tick, 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 tick,
Yeah.
tick.
It's very on the nose. It's kind of if you're looking to do an emotional scene and you play "Fix You" by Coldplay,
Yeah.
like it does in Derek. It's like I mean, it all makes sense, but it just is too kind of obvious. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like cry. This is where you cry.
Yeah. Well,
It's
you
kind
do,
of
and you
signposted.
still do it as well.
Well, yeah, always because you're a human being. Okay,
Yeah.
you've got feelings,
Yeah.
and especially when music is involved.
Well,
It's just-
he learnt that trick a little bit, doesn't he, in the office with the bit with the music?
Tim and Dawn's
who
kids.
hasn't? Oh, yeah, I'll put that in. You'll make noises.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, well, that's the art of directing, isn't it? That's what horror films do. If you watch a horror film without the sound on it, it's not scary.
Yeah, but it's too obvious. I like it to be. I notice the music too much. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah,
The
yeah.
music should complement the visuals rather than
Because
it's
he's
like,
picking songs that are like
yeah
that you.
that he knows are going to make me cry specifically. He's probably doing it for me. I'd have thought.
Yeah, particularly for you. He did like one of your messages once. So
That's true.
he definitely knows you exist.
But he's quite he's a regular for. I think everyone must have had their tweets like by Gervais at some point.
Not that guy that keeps calling him a pedo.
No, it's funny. It's funny.
So everyone, welcome to.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can say something about.
I was
pedos.
going to say I don't think we've introduced ourselves for the last
No.
month, but you were probably about to do that, so I won't stop you.
Did I write that? I was going to write that. No. This is a podcast that talks to musicians about mental health, positive well-being, their journey in music, and also fashion.
A little splash of fashion.
Yeah, so we're called the Failed Rockstar Club. And Jez, who are we and where are we?
So, hello, I'm Jez, and that's Stephen Robert Hurdle being honest. We're in Manningtree, which in many ways is the cultural centre of the universe in my book. Here are the Best Days Warehouse, the epicentre of our business. It's just a skeleton staff running it, still in lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
But happy to be here. I've come through a bit of a I had this week. I think it's been the toughest for me, lockdown wise.
Okay.
And I got the impression for a lot of people it was. I've got no evidence for this really. Just going a little bit by social media, a little bit from talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this was maybe I'm hoping the low point. Everyone's low. It kind of feels like the middle of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I don't know if that's a hump or a ditch.
Dip.
I don't know. It depends on your philosophy. But it felt like my dip because I've been okay up to the point. It was very much like the novelty had worn off. Not getting enough sleep, that kind of thing. Just the Groundhog Day feeling of no surprises. Got to me last week.
Okay.
But I'm fine now.
What's your song?
So this week's song. No, no. Well, I was going to pick "This Is a Low," the Blur song, but I realised I pretty much pick Blur or Radiohead every week, and it's got to be some variety. So I'm going to pick "The Suburbs" by Arcade Fire because, on a separate note to what I've been talking about, really, but I've really felt a sense of community from where I live. I'm lucky enough to live in a nice kind of suburby, new buildy type place, which I know new builds often lack character, but I'm going to go on record as saying mine has got character, mostly because it's got old trees and stuff and some old buildings that they've kept from what was there before.
Yep.
An old mental home, in fact. But
yep.
don't need to dwell on that. But they're like we got home from a walk the other day, and somebody on the development had hidden all these toys.
Council estate. The estate.
Yeah, the estate.
You're one of these posh knobs. You're posh knobs. That doesn't want to call it an estate.
Yeah, I almost said estate.
Or development.
Yeah. Well, it just sounds bad, doesn't it? Anyway, the point is, we found this like Matchbox car that was just next to a little post, kind of hidden. And we're like, somebody dropped this. I went on the like sort of Facebook page for the estate. Yeah. The estate, my country estate. And it turned out, some guy just hidden a load of sweets and toys all around for kids to go and do a little bit of a treasure hunt around the estate. I thought it was so nice. Yeah. And then somebody else had dug a chunk out of a tree and made a little fairy door and is like regularly hiding things in there and kind of like there's lots of stuff going on. And weed outside the front of our house.
These aren't pedos, are they?
Well, I've got no reason to think that they are. I don't know why your mind would go there. Some people are just nice. Yeah. Have you not heard "Thou Shalt Not Kill" by Scroobius Pip?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah. Well, listen to him. But yeah, we had all these chalk we like left these like chalks outside the house, and we invited people to like do little drawings, and we'd done some clap the NHS, stay safe, all these messages and stuff, and loads of people had done it. And then last night, of course, it rained for the first time.
Stop graffitiing over the road.
Yeah. Yeah. The rain has washed it all away, and I was sad this morning because people had left lovely messages. Oh. People had put like, "Oh, this really made our day today. Thanks very much," and all this stuff. Really, that sense of community.
Yeah. And you got a lot of families around your way there. It must be.
Yeah, it's mostly young families, and so it was something for because people are just walking around the block, and so something for the kids to do for 10 minutes is a real. Speaking from experience, is a real fucking bonus. But on the subject of Arcade Fire, as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, has there been a better first 3 albums than Arcade Fire's first 3? Is a question I'd like to put to you, Steve, and Robert Hurdle, and you, the audience. Just think, I think they went off the boil after that, but the first 3 for me are all masterpieces.
Masterpieces?
Yeah, masterpieces. That's right.
3 albums.
One and 3, I think specifically. Maybe 2's not a Neon Bible.
Oh, that's good.
Which is great. Yeah, I know. Well, I called it masterpiece a second ago. Yeah. I'm backtracking a little bit, but I think 1 and 3 are Suburbs. Is just every song is. I like the concept of it, and that funeral album is just. And I feel like, you know how Radiohead seem to have transcended the generations. Like, so I see our customers and kids bang into Radiohead, but I don't see too many going on about Arcade Fire. So so I don't know if they've kind of fallen through the cracks. I don't know because they're still together and they're still making. I don't know.
First 3 albums.
But I think for a first 3 albums, an unbroken run of just absolute quality. You'd be hard pushed because some, if you think of Radiohead, like their first album was.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder there, isn't it?
Well, of course.
Because I was going to say Idol.
Ooh.
But maybe the first album is great, but is it? It's not really a masterpiece.
I don't listen to it as much as the rest.
The other two are.
I thought they
Two and
started
three
to,
are.
2 and 3 is where they start to find really
Yeah.
find
It's like because they were quite young in the first one.
yeah,
so,
and it's very punky and kind of
yeah. It's got some bangers on it.
yeah, it's great and it's
Would I argue I see shapes? I mean,
yeah, that is a tune.
But yeah, as an album, it's probably not a masterpiece.
Yeah,
It's like Remote Plot is.
yeah, 2 and 3 in my book. It's, up there with my favourite albums of all time. And they're doing a one of the, we were talking about the Tim's Twitter listening party.
Idlewild.
Idlewild are doing one for 100 Broken Windows. That's the
Cool.
second album.
The second album. Yeah. Okay, my song of the week is Michael Jackson, "Man in the Mirror."
Sure. You've been checking yourself out a lot.
Yeah, looking at myself in the mirror. Yeah, because obviously this week we've kind of like been stuff at work and all that sort of stuff, and being asked to kind of confess my sins a little bit. So I've been like doing some thinking and
Some self-reflection.
about me as a person and all that sort of stuff, as a business leader. So yeah, that's kind of been taking up my kind of headspace recently and figuring that one out. So yeah, that's my song of the week. Not really much more to say about it, really. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the conclusions you came to about yourself as a person? And do you think? Let's talk about, because we're meant to talk about mental health. We'd like to talk about that.
Yeah.
How do you think it has been helpful, and do you think it's something people should do?
Yes, I
Self-reflection.
think
How
everyone
much?
should, because surely no one's perfect, and unless you're David Beckham, so that no one's perfect, and you should all basically look at yourself sometimes and think how your actions are perceived by others, because we live in a world where you have communication and relationships with all different people, and all of us have ways of dealing with things or talking to people or living a life that affect other people that people you care about. You might upset people without knowing how you do it.
I don't think you should worry about how you're perceived by others, because if it's just perceived, that suggests that maybe it's not true. But yeah, how your actions affect others, definitely.
Yeah.
Because they might be perceiving you wrongly,
and it's
for
different.
whatever reason.
Yeah, because communication is like a funny old thing, isn't it? Really, the message out is not the message received sometimes. But also, it's difficult to know for someone like me that suffers a lot from mental health issues and depression, quite a lot. How much of it is depression, and affecting the way you look at yourself as well, and how much of it should be kind of like self-reflection. Like, it's difficult to look at your kind of actions or your way of looking at the world dispassionately. But it's an interesting journey to go down, where you look at yourself and try to look at the way you kind of view things dispassionately.
Well, that's the thing. It's very hard to take the passion.
Of course it is.
Out.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
And the emotion.
But I listen to like some podcasts again about leadership as well as like in the business as well, and figure things out. And you can ask yourself, it's very easy to kind of preach away, but then about what people should be doing. But you should often also look in the mirror and see how you are as a leader and a person as well. There's a bit of both of it between like business and also life. But yeah, that's what I've been doing and like trying to anyway. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe I'm too much of a fucking deep thinker.
I suppose it depends what you're deep thinking about. But you can go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, easily, and I do often.
I often think, would I have been happier if I was thick and didn't think so much about
Everything.
things. Although having said that, I'm a pretty happy person anyway. But
yeah, I
did often wonder, would being sick be a blessing? So, they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I suppose you want a degree of. I don't know. Because I guess you don't care about things because you don't understand them. So you.
But it's all relative again, isn't it? Like intelligence.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah. It goes back to what we spoke about last week about I'll be happy if or I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
That's a kind of weird way of looking at it. But I do try. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing to look at myself in the mirror too much. Well, definitely is looking in the mirror physically with these tits. But it's
cracking pair.
Yeah, but it's
no wonder you do it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I still don't know really.
No, that's pros and cons like everything.
Yeah.
Who would you say who do you think is the most content person you know of?
Oh.
And what's their secret? Sprung this on you.
Yeah.
I should have thought of my own answer. We'll save that for next week.
Yeah, because I'll go.
It's hard to know because probably the person we would think might not be as content as we think they are.
I think
That's the thing.
I'm striving for contentness.
I think that's all anybody wants.
Yeah.
I don't need to
care
be rich.
anymore about fucking money. I don't care anymore about power. All I try and care about is to be happy with my lot. And it's a human condition, isn't it, to not want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's also what drives humans to do kind of fucking cool stuff and amazing stuff. It's
What, unhappiness? Yeah.
Well, sometimes it's like, and like that kind of drive to kind of do more and be more.
That's where all the great art comes from. Is from, there's very few great pieces of art that have come from a place of happiness.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I always said that about I've probably said that on this podcast. So one of the things I put down to why we weren't more successful is that I didn't ever really get my heart broken. Haven't really suffered that much tragedy in my life. I'm just far too well adjusted for great art, I'm afraid. So that's not an invitation to come and run me over,
shit over your
break my legs or something, shit on my lovely chalk drawings.
Yeah,
that cut deep. But there you go.
Yes. So this episode, Jez.
Oh, yeah, can I just do my Jez's recommendation of the week? We didn't do it last week, so I've got last week's one to do. But are you familiar with Laura Marling?
Yep.
The female singer-songwriter, very good folk guitarist.
Mystery Jets.
Did a duet with Mystery Jets, famously, yeah. Well, her new album, which is called Song for Our Daughter, is really good.
Okay.
It's an album about, I think it's like written, it's kind of a loose concept, being like she doesn't have a daughter, it's like an imaginary daughter, and it's like she's singing about what she would tell a woman growing up, or a girl growing up in the world that we live in. So it's really, and it's got like, it's very sort of timeless. It sounds like there's little bits of Joni Mitchell in there, and Carly Simon it reminded me of, had that sort of 70s American feel, which I really liked. Just great melodies, and she's got a beautiful voice. So yes.
When did it come out?
Listen to that last week, I think.
Okay.
Oh. So it's new.
Okay.
My recommendations are all fresh.
They are. Yeah.
I'm trying to make an effort to.
Little known band called Nirvana.
Yeah. And it smells like Teen Spirit. Yeah. Go and listen to that, kids. No, I'm trying to make an effort to.
Yeah, you are.
Keep my finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
Okay. So this episode, imaginatively called the Rehearsal Room episode.
Ooh.
Why have I called it that?
Well, I imagine when you suggested this, I think about it, and really, that's where you spend more time in the rehearsal room than any other aspect of being in a band. That's where most of the inverted commas magic happens,
and the dynamics.
And also the worst parts. It all goes on in there.
Yeah, that's partly why I thought it'd be an interesting episode, because this is no one's watching. It's just you guys in the band in a room together, which is often not a big room, and
that's true.
All sorts of different dynamics kind of go out with those, play out with those relationships, with good stuff happening, bad stuff happening, getting on, having a laugh, having an argument. You spend random amounts of times in there, because you can be in there loads, or you can be in there for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. It
sees the highs and lows, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like probably the best moments of being in a band, other than the live stuff, is when you crack a song. You know, when you've maybe someone's brought a song, or you're jamming or whatever, and you have like some kind of breakthrough, and you all have that little look at each other, and you know something has clicked. Yep. And that is like one of those punch the air moments.
And it's totally different experience to when you're in a recording studio, because there's someone else in there normally.
It's literally just those 4 or 5 voices or whatever.
And this sounds like a really, maybe like saying a sucking eggs question, but there might be people out here who have never been in a band. So what happens in a rehearsal room generally? Talk me through it.
Well, in my experience, you seem to spend at least an hour setting up. Yeah. That's the really annoying part. The time where we had our own practice space, so we could leave everything set up, was an absolute game changer, because it took away all that faff. There's so much faff with being in a band. Fucking equipment. If bands were just everyone played a recorder or a ukulele, you'd get so much more done. The faff of setting up, take that away. Oh, he could be so productive. Yeah. So we built our own out of like a old industrial unit. Yeah. And left everything set up, and we'd go there every night, and that's basically why we became a band.
That's in my next question, actually.
Oh, okay.
You often do.
Yeah. But
it's the natural, at least
so you set up, so you kind of chat while you're setting up, and it almost sets the tone. You can see what moods people are in while you're setting up. If somebody's in a grump or whatever, you'll know. Yeah. If your drummer's setting up and he's going, he's come straight from work.
Does the time of when you're rehearsing have any influence, do you think? Because in rehearsal rooms, like generally, like they'll have like slots, right? So you'll have the 9 till 12 slot, the graveyard shift, or you might have the 6 till 9 slots. Like generally, like 3 or 4 hour slots at a time, aren't they?
I remember we went through a phase of being in that really shitty place in Kentish Town, and we were doing like 9 till midnight.
Yeah,
and
on a Friday, wasn't it?
I swear we never achieved anything.
Got anything good done because it
by
was
that
just
point,
the wrong time.
Well, we were thinking, it's Friday, we should be having fun. Yeah, and I think we resented being there.
Do you think we punished ourselves sometimes?
It felt like it. Yeah, it felt like we'd
have to go through the pain barrier to become a good band.
Yeah, because there were times where you're like, I don't want to be doing it. I want to be out, chasing girls or, going clubbing or whatever.
I remember once, I forget who it was, some old mate in the industry who, again, someone giving us advice, said that you need to put the hard graft in for this, because if you think you're working hard, guaranteed there's another band out there working harder than you, and you need to put the work in. And I think that we work pretty hard in rehearsals, but that always kind of stuck with you, doesn't it? Like kind of like it has to be kind of maybe sometimes we thought it was quantity over quality.
Yep. Because I always thought not that it was irrelevant how hard you work, but it was that it's the inspiration rather than the perspiration that is what makes you
a good band.
It's the difference between. Yeah.
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Because maybe that's part of the problem, is because I was definitely a kind of, I suppose like the business as well. It's like you've got to put the graft in.
Yeah, it's about how many hours you chug away at the same song.
Yeah.
Where in reality, I mean, yes, you have to do that to get tight and to kind of really hone your craft. But none of that matters if you haven't got that song that has come from somewhere that you can channel that hard work into. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
There's a bit of both. It's like being a footballer. You have to have the talent, but you also have to put the work in.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that make it are the ones who have both.
Because you hear these changing the subject to be football, but it probably could apply it to that. You hear these stories about these footballers that
could have had it
all, but didn't put the work in, and then other players that maybe weren't as good, but they put the effort in and the graft in.
James Milner, James Milner, Danny Mills, Gary Flitcroft,
Gary Neville,
Flitcroft, Neville, there are others.
Matt Target.
Matty Target.
Apparently his brother was a better footballer than him, but Matt Target put the effort in.
Oh, there you go. That's empirical evidence, right?
Fact. There. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a weird kind of way of looking at it, isn't it? Like, because and I always say that those rehearsal rooms is like different ways of doing it. Some bands would go in there and just play their songs over and over again. Other times you would spend the time writing, but then you're trying to write in an absolute racket and it's hard to communicate.
As a singer, I often found it really hard work. Like singing, I was singing into
the wind. You said
into the wind, just into a wall of noise, because we were always in practice rooms. This is before I didn't like the earplug sensation. I couldn't get on board with that, so I wouldn't use them, and so I was deafening myself and getting a sore throat from trying to sing over the top of these badly mixed wall of noise.
And it was just impossible, because it was just the rooms weren't big enough, were they? Because when you had the drums,
not for our
drums like the Thunder, it was difficult to mix that.
Yeah.
Until you start getting to bigger ones where it got a little bit better.
Over the crash cymbals, it was just.
Did you find the size of the room made a difference then?
Yeah, there were some practice rooms where in bigger ones where with monitors, and it started to get a bit more kind of professional. And it was a much better experience, totally. Yeah. And we started getting better at mixing, and it was more enjoyable then. As soon as I could hear myself, it was like, oh yeah, this is why I do it, rather than it being a chore and a kind of real
Because
effort.
A lot of bands as well make the mistake of lining up in a row like they're playing a gig when they're in rehearsal rooms.
Yeah, it's not conducive to hearing yourself
No.
well, is it? But sometimes we would pretend we'd do gig conditions, wouldn't we? And
Sometimes you do gig conditions.
we'd turn all the lights off and pretend it was
Yeah.
put on intro music and pretend it was a gig.
Well, we were playing a show and stuff, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
wouldn't make any difference when it came to actually playing a gig because everything was so different.
Yeah, but we still enjoyed it.
So I want to look back at some different rehearsals. Obviously you spoke about Built Our Own. How did that come across? What was that about?
So that was the very start of us trying to kind of take it seriously, wasn't it? So we were in High Wycombe, and it was the summer, and we decided to really give this a go. We were like, "This is what we want to do. Let's do it properly."
Yep.
And so we soundproofed this room.
A warehouse, wasn't it?
Yeah,
a little industrial unit.
Soundproofed it, set it all up, and we went there every night after work or whatever we were doing.
We made it a rule, didn't we, that we were going to go every evening?
Yeah, every weeknight. That was the rule. And like most of us were working shitty jobs in supermarkets and stuff. Because this must have been. Do you remember there was that summer when we were both at Sainsbury's?
Summer of discontent.
Yeah, that was before we'd done that.
I assume we've had it for a while before that.
Because we used to practice in your front room, didn't we? During that phase, maybe that's because we couldn't want to walk to the.
Maybe.
Anyway. Yeah, but we were disciplined and we went there every night, and that was like late Reagan era, wasn't it? And then early
Fans of Cake. It was the beginnings of Fans of Cake, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I distinctly remember us writing a song called the Doo Doo, Keep Warm, the Doo Doo song in there, and this is when I just started to be the singer, and I remember I was just sort of I think I was trying to write a guitar riff. I was doing along to a guitar riff, and then everyone was like, "No, that's it. Keep that. Just sing it like that." And it was one of the few times we kind of jammed.
The song came out pretty quick.
Yeah, out of a jam. So we weren't really jammers. We were in those days, but we later became non-jammers. But just the freedom that having that rehearsal space, the fact it was all set up so you just plug in and play. That makes such a difference. And the fact it was, I suppose, because it was ours, we could write stuff on the walls and like put up.
Can you remember actually making it? The building process. The agony that was the building process, should I say?
Yeah. Well, there was some alpha males and some beta males who didn't know what they were doing, and I was definitely in that second category.
I remember going there before Christmas when everyone else had gone home to spend a weekend drilling holes into because we couldn't afford it, so we didn't have enough wood to create the proper like joists, kind of like to have the plasterboard. So we'd have to kind of like do little sections of it to get it all up as well. And all these like freezing fucking cold. It took because we were like bodging it together. It took a couple of 3 months to kind of get it all up and done. And a lot of it was held together by gaffer tape. But it was proper like.
It was proper DIY, but it was soundproof and it worked a treat. And it
what
was
do you call that stuff? The thingy wall. What's that called, Freddie?
Sorry?
That thingy wall where it's like itchy. It gets in your eyes.
Oh yeah.
Soundproofing.
So you have in like your loft and stuff.
Yeah, it's not that insulation, isn't it?
Yeah, we had all that all over like the kind of walls and the ceiling.
That spongy stuff.
Yeah. Everywhere.
Yeah.
And we spent the time like building that, and I remember Jamie spent the time building a ladder out of old pallets that we never used, and as soon as he stood on it, it fell apart. Like a little boy. It was like having a little kid in the room that like wanted to kind of like build stuff like his dad, but like was like playing builder.
Yeah, good time though.
Yeah.
Because I think we were kind of had a vague connection to this band called the Cooper Temple Claws, who were big in the early noughties.
Yep.
And they were kind of a big deal, and they let us use their rehearsal room for like a couple of days while we were doing some recording, I think. And we saw their room, I think, and they had all the lyrics up and everything. It was proper, like it felt like a band epicenter,
a hub, isn't it?
And I think that's what kind of got us off our asses, and we did it. But it was cool, like just writing, all the stuff we had like a list of people that we had vendettas against, didn't we?
I can't remember.
We did, and all the albums that we were listening to at the time, and Alan did like funny drawings and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember he had a draw. Like, this is this is what is at the end of your bed, and it was like a picture of some weird animal.
Yeah. Wasn't it also like would we ever hang out in there? I can't remember if we used to hang out in there.
Yeah, we'd get drunk in there from time to time.
We'd also recorded demos in there, wouldn't we, as well?
Yeah. And I distinctly, one of my strongest visions of that rehearsal room that we built ourselves was when we were auditioning new singers.
Yeah.
For what later became Fans of Kate. This was before I stuck my hand up and said I'll do it. And this guy turned up. And I think were you even there? There was definitely a time where I was playing drums for some reason while he sang. We did a cover of Last Night by the Strokes. Yeah. And it was awful. And he'd come all the way from
painful.
Yeah, he'd come from Northampton or something. We'd put an advert in the NME, and he turned up and he said, "Right, do you mind if I play one of my songs?" No. Oh. And it was like one of those moments you all kind of looking at each other, and bless him, like, he did his. Yeah. Not to patronise him, he'd done his best, but it was fucking rubbish. And you all look at each other, oh, he's come all this way. What are we going to say? And it was just like, well, we'll speak to you soon. We'll give you a call. And he got on his train.
Off he went.
Yeah. But yeah, some good times.
We actually made a really good friend there, didn't we? From our friend Mark Nielsen.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And he came to
audition. And he was really good. That was the difference. And he was kind of thinking about leaving. He was in a band, and he was thinking about secretly leaving his band. And he was really good. But I don't know, for some reason, did he change his mind, or did we?
He changed his mind. Yeah, I think he decided to stay with them.
Yeah, they were really good. They're a band called 50 Hertz. I don't know if you can find any of their stuff online. It's not on Spotify. I wish it was. But yeah, they went on to be on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that was years and years ago, and we're still friends with him now. We don't really see him anymore, do we? But we.
But he's purely friends based on that off chance meeting where he came. Yeah. But he was very, very talented guy.
So. Also, there was like all different rooms, but it was like different dynamic, wasn't it? When you're paying for someone to be in their business, like basically their business was to rent out rehearsal rooms. It was like you're on the clock.
Then that changes the whole dynamic, because then there's that feeling of, well, we've got to get something done. We've been here.
Yeah, we paid for this now. We paid our 50 quid for 3 hours.
And then suddenly when you're jamming this riff over and over again, going nowhere, and you think, I've got to achieve something here. Yeah. So then you think, oh, we'll just go through the set.
What about
just to achieve something?
Because we would often rehearse like the Monday. This is probably Fans of New Adventures. I can't remember what it was. New Adventures, I think. Monday we'd rehearse. All day Wednesday we paid for it all.
Yep.
Fucking that's expensive. And then
in the King's Cross.
Yeah, the King's Cross place. And there's quite a posh place.
Yep.
How was it? It was a different experience, wasn't it? When you'd be there all day.
Yes, because you came in fresh
in the morning. Yeah.
Which is a whole new dynamic. We'd never done that before. That was like. More, it felt proper because you were in a really good room, and coming in
the daytime
with a coffee, feeling like ready to, by lunchtime you were fucked and
you're over it.
You're over it. But I often remember that morning being like you're full of.
Do you think that's where you got most of it done, most of the good work done?
Yeah, I think so. Then you'd have a crash after lunch, and then you'd probably have another peak in the afternoon.
You do your songwriting, you record it all, wouldn't we?
Yeah. I feel like we got good stuff out of that, but it's hard to know. Looking back, there's probably no correlation with that. But I remember feeling like being, getting on the tube and thinking,
"This is my job."
Oh, here we go. I'm a musician. I'm a proper musician. I'm practicing in the morning. Woo! Of course, real musicians were coming down.
Literally, it's not my next question, but it's on there. It's what. Can you remember different famous musicians? Because that place was like quite a hub, wasn't it? Of musicians.
That was high end stuff there.
That was like proper, wasn't it?
You were getting into sort of B-list celebrities in that place.
Yeah. So who would you see? Do you remember?
Well, I remember the Hoosiers. Talking to the big guns. The Hoosiers used to practice in the room next to us, and they
would just seem to do that one drum beat.
They played. This was before they'd had their breakthrough hit. To be fair. Yeah. And they would play that one. We would only be able to hear the drums. We'd hear the same drum beat going, for a full day while we were practicing. And we were like, "Who the fuck are these? And why are they doing this?" Yeah. And then, like a few months later,
but then you realise that all their songs sounded like that.
Well, yeah, if they could have been playing the whole album's worth. But it felt like they were playing that Goodbye, Mr. A. Yeah. Is that their big hit? That's all you could hear.
Like 8 hours. They certainly got a sound. And they would have been there for like weeks, wouldn't they?
And they were, hammering at it. And I guess that fed into that, it's the hard work that pays off sort of thing. Yeah. Because clearly they had a record deal and people behind them. Yeah. And then the next minute they were on Top of the Pops and they were on, talking to Fern Cotton on whatever the Saturday morning TV show was, and you'd be like, oh, well, there you go.
Oh.
And all off the back of that one
Yeah.
song. But they were always very complimentary to us. They were always popping their head in saying, oh, it sounds great out here.
Yeah.
What do they know? What do they know?
Yeah. Okay. Who's Yeas? Anyone else you think of?
Well, Baby Shambles were...
Mm-hmm.
That's Pete Doherty's...
And he was the opposite of the hard work, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was never there. Yeah, never saw him.
I remember the band would always get there,
Yep.
and then he would turn up about 3 or 4 hours later, and then leave after about an hour.
Yep. That's the Pete Doherty way, isn't it?
Yeah, so he was the opposite of hard work.
Yep. He was all about the inspiration.
Yeah.
Not sure where he got that inspiration from. Some sort
Yeah.
of... I saw him with some sort of...
I remember watching the Mystery Jets through the window,
Oh, yeah, Mystery Jets, yeah.
but he was sitting on a sofa, and obviously demoing or something, because he was the only one in the room, and I used to look in the window, he'd be like singing into his microphone, into his laptop.
Yeah. I wish... Because I wasn't that into them at the time. I think
No.
if I'd been... Because I really like them now.
Yeah.
That's one of those moments when I watch my videotape of my life. I'll go back and see what song they were playing.
Yeah.
Because I bet it was one of those good ones.
Probably, yeah.
Was that around the second album? Here,
Oh, it must have been about that, yeah. It was
Yeah.
quite a while ago.
the Laura Marling.
Yep.
Marling one.
So yeah, they used to be there. Who else? Razorlight.
Yep. So we have to remember this is in the indie landfill years
Oh yeah.
of the early noughties when you just had to be a man with a guitar to.
Yeah.
By the way, on that subject, do you see Little Man Tate reforming?
Oh,
Yes, they are. I just saw that phrase. Like, I read the comments because I was like, "Does anybody want this? Is anybody excited about Little Man Tate coming back?"
Yeah.
Because they were like friends with. They're from Sheffield and they were mates with the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
That was their whole thing. That was their whole story. We know the Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah. Sure.
That was their whole career.
Yeah.
But apparently, plenty of people were excited about their reunion.
Oh, good.
But that was our era, wasn't it?
Yeah. Hope in the States.
Yeah. Remember?
Seeing them, they had quite a big setup, didn't they, as well?
Yeah. Well, they had violin players. You've got to get the sound right if you got a violin player.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the guitarists, the new guitarist, came out and said, "Please buy our single." I really got the impression because they're onto their second album at that point, and their first album had a lot of money ploughed into their first one. I don't think it had
done it sold as money
as they'd hoped, and then the second album was like Last Chance Saloon, and he was like, I think the single had come out, and he was like, "Please buy it," and I don't think anyone did because they were disappeared without trace.
Yeah. Anyway, it was quite fun when seeing like bands that kind of like people have heard of, like in their
bands that you're reading about in the magazines, and then you were next to them, and you kind of made you almost feel like peers.
Yeah.
But it did feel like a scene, that London scene at that time when it was when boys with guitars were kind of still felt culturally relevant.
And they're all like playing with their hair.
Yeah, of course they were. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking Matt the other day about that actually. Do you think that any boy with a guitar will make a sort of culturally relevant album?
Again?
Well, like how Oasis and the Arctic Monkeys are probably the that's
Ed Sheeran is literally a boy in a guitar.
Yeah, no, but like a band in that.
Oh.
Someone
Yeah,
not a pop kind of.
Yes.
You don't think rock is?
No.
Okay, on that level.
Yep.
That sort of scale.
Yep.
It will happen.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know
it's just like a cycle thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everything goes in
Because
cycles.
I don't know. I just feel like that whole white boys with guitars.
It's finished.
It just feels like so deeply unfashionable now.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that's fashion, isn't it? It'll come around again. It will suddenly
Of course.
be fashionable again. But yeah, just at the moment it feels kind of so dated almost. But maybe that's because I'm looking back at 2003 constantly.
Surely there's loads of men in bands that are playing the guitars.
Well, there are loads, yeah, but none of them seem to have captured that zeitgeist like.
No, I suppose maybe.
I think this is coming from watching Supersonic and the scale.
Alt J.
Yeah, but
Like the scale.
The
of
scale of that, like
Yeah.
you know how many people applied.
Being on like BBC News.
Yeah,
if your albums come out.
Yeah,
Since
exactly.
the Arctic
People
Monkeys.
queuing up for Be Here Now,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
It will happen again.
Yeah. Doesn't happen very often, but
No,
every now and then it happens. When it gets into the news, it gets into 6 o'clock news. You're kind of
that
like
you've
transcended.
captured. Yeah, you've captured the zeitgeist and whatever. But just watching that Supersonic documentary again, just made me think. At the time, you don't appreciate how significant that is, but. How many people applied for Nebworth tickets? Like as a percentage of the country,
I know.
it was
It's
like
mad, isn't it?
yeah, it was mad. And that's just like five blocks for guitars.
How do you
pub
think
rock?
bands like Coldplay, let's say, how do they rehearse? Are they rehearsing? Are they like hiring out Brixton Academy to rehearse, or are
They probably
have they
do
still
do
got
that.
a rehearsal room in like Chris Martin's basement?
I think they've got from what they have a place in
They've probably got
Belsize Park.
They've probably got an HQ, haven't they?
They've got an HQ with like rehearsal room set up, I reckon.
Offices.
But I think bands like that probably do hire out a big venue to practice their live.
All their production and stuff.
Yeah, to test out the pyrotechnics
Yeah.
and everything. But I imagine with them, it's quite a specific example because he writes all the songs, doesn't he? And I guess he comes with songs and says, right, this is the song, this is the sound I'm after.
Yeah.
Come up with your parts.
I think everyone's different, aren't they? Because you know, when Embrace, they rehearse at Rick's studio.
Yeah.
Mainly, I guess. I don't know if they ever go in. I can't imagine they go to a rehearsal room. So they must do it all there. But I think they've got it's like kind of well produced, isn't it? Because the drums are in a different room. And
sounds good straight away.
Yeah, the guitars are away, so you can kind of put it all through the speakers.
And that must affect the sound of the song because things like singing into a wall of noise are going to affect what melody you come up with or whatever.
Yeah.
You might make it sort of sing in a different key because you're trying to sing over the. This is 100%. Some of our songs are only in the pitch that they are because it was trying to get over the top of
the noise. Yeah.
Some score.
Do you think that a band like that are rehearsing in a recording studio basically, when it actually comes to playing live, it's a different vibe. The sound is so different when you're live.
Yeah.
They use it obviously in monitors and make a difference as well. But like, would you say they have to play a warm-up gig to see how it sounds, or do they just go out and just play? I don't know how that would work.
I think because they've got a history of doing little gigs.
Yeah.
Which Coldplay we're still talking about here.
I was Embrace,
yeah. Probably the similar vibe. I think they like to do a little intimate road test the songs and see
how it goes.
Yeah. And then maybe go back to them and kind of make some adjustments here and there. That's what I like in a dream scenario. That's what you do.
What's the worst thing about being in a rehearsal room? Like, anything you think, you look back in it. Smell?
To me, it's the...
Dark, dank?
Well, it's that having a sore throat and kind of still trying to sing.
Yeah.
But also it's the arguments. It's that fucking tension. I can feel it now. Those that just... the cliche of musical differences is so real. I remember just sitting there completely tense. You've had an argument over a drum beat or something. Like, one of you thinks it should be faster, one thinks it's slower, and no one's backing down, and everyone's tense. And then you see the dynamic between people, all these like pent up tensions that might have been there come out into this just a very small thing, and egos get into it. You know, this is my song, which should sound like this, blah blah blah. And it's just that I'm one of these people who just tries to avoid confrontation at all costs. But then there are times when it is unavoidable, and there it is, and you just want it to be over. They're the bits that's the worst part of it to me. I can deal with the smells, like, and the dinginess,
darkness.
There were days where you didn't see daylight all day, and it is a bit fucking weird, but. I can deal with that if we're making music and having fun. It's not a problem, is it?
What sort of people would work there?
We're on the rehearsal rooms
because it's always like a certain type, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like, who can you remember the kind of characters?
For want of a better phrase, goblins.
Rock goblins.
Rock goblins. They're always tend to be from the heavy metal side of things.
Yeah.
Because they're the kind of people who if no one was there, they'd be whittling away on their guitar, wouldn't they? And kind of testing out the amps.
They're all like aging
techie types.
Aging guys that have also dyed their hair black or something.
Yeah, 100%. Gothy metaliers were the rule, or people with no teeth. They were quite sometimes both. Yeah, a lot of sort of. Remember that Irish guy from? There's a guy called Rocking Rocktooth. He didn't call himself that, to be fair.
Yeah,
but it
was always blokes that played in bands, wasn't it? They were in that scene, but always.
And it's like our secondary job out of we didn't become rock stars, so we ran a clothes shop. Yeah. I'm sure they thought they were going to be rock stars, and next rung down the ladder for them was rehearsal studio. Yeah. Employee. It meant they were still around music and kind of could
bands and
consider themselves part of the industry, I guess.
Yeah.
Still, they love to banter. Like when you came up for a beer or a coffee or whatever, they'd banter with you about they'd always want to tell you a story about who they'd played with or whatever. And
Nescafe coffee.
yeah, yeah. There was always shit coffee. Maybe it's different now. Maybe they've upped their game coffee-wise. I haven't been in one for a good
Remember
while.
in the King's Cross one, there was that woman,
Yeah.
the sexy MILF.
Yeah. Well, we went back. The last time we were back was only
A couple of years ago.
a couple of years ago. She was there, and you had a good old flirt again, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh,
Took a ball of the shower.
Do you remember me?
Yeah, she did remember him though. To be fair, listeners.
Yeah. So yeah, we touched a little bit with band dynamic. Why do you think it is that everything comes out like that? Is it because it's so intense, or?
Yeah, I think because it depends on people's mood going in. It's the ego, I think, and this is the cause of most arguments in all parts of life. I think no one likes being told what to do, especially in an environment.
It's also that
this
you believe in what you're saying. You believe that you're right.
Yeah, and I suppose if it's something like art, where there's no real right or wrong answer. It's not maths. It's not a fact. If you've got two people with different opinions, as we often did, like we were all listening to different music, so we wanted it to sound like different things. Like there's no, so essentially it's who's going to back down, basically.
Yeah.
And you try. I remember loads of times where we try a song two different ways to try and then it comes out like you're essentially having a vote on like who prefers it this way, and then it's a popularity contest. Are you doing it because it's the song, or do you prefer that guy? So you.
Can you see you can see how people in bands split up?
Oh, totally. Probably most of the arguments are in rehearsal rooms, I reckon.
Yeah.
That must be number one place. Because gigs, you're a unified.
And there's people watching.
There's an audience.
That's why it's so important, because it's such a different dynamic.
You're right. As soon as somebody else who isn't in the band comes into a practice room, it totally changes. Totally changes straight away. You're either trying to impress them, or you just hold back because you don't want to embarrass yourself or whatever, or speak freely. Well, certainly we didn't. I'm sure there are bands who don't give a fuck and would still row in front of strangers, but we certainly wouldn't. We would go into our shell and just, because we went for a phase where our manager would come and would want to listen to all the jamming and all the songs we were trying, and then there was a kind of don't really like it. We'd have been working on this song all day and you'd come up with this fucking thing we thought was genius. And he'd go,
it's alright.
He'd do that, Alan Partridge.
We had
just revamp current affairs.
How many hours of tape we'd have at the end of it, where you play and you're trying to pull things together, and you listen to all these tape after like hours of recordings and.
Well,
in those days we'd have tape, didn't we? To record on.
Yep. Some people are of the jam.
If you keep talking,
persuasion.
Do a wee.
Right.
You keep talking.
Freddie, do you want to come on?
One more. Sorry guys, I need to do a wee.
He can edit this out of the podcast, but
I won't be
but for the Facebook Live watchers, you're just getting me. Oh, it's our man Freddie.
So,
well, actually, Freddie is a very accomplished drummer.
Very.
And also man of best day. So you're in a perfect position to talk about
I've been in bands.
What are your favourite rehearsal room experiences? What do you like about it? What do you hate about it?
I've been in a few different ones in my time. Mainly it was my bedroom for a number of years.
Really?
Yeah, had a kit set up in my bedroom. Every Monday night, me and the guys used to get together. Like looking back now, we definitely took the piss in terms of playing late, playing loud. Couldn't do it now.
Did your parents complain?
No, they were, as supportive as any parent would be, but my neighbours used to say, "Oh, that sounded really good," whereas really they're saying,
"Shut
we
up.
can hear you."
Yeah, that's the point here.
But
read between the lines. So were you playing drum pads?
Oh God, no! I was
full kit,
full shabam, yeah.
Full kit wanker.
Full kit wanker. But where else? Upstairs at a pub, the Swan in Ipswich. Because Carnell, our singer, was from Ipswich, so we used to take it in turns. So everyone would come around mine on a Monday, and then I can't remember when we used to go there. I think we just took it in turns, like.
So you never had paid rehearsal rooms?
We used to, but it's expensive, isn't it? And
really expensive.
It all adds up, and if you've got the space to do it, then just do it.
We actually got a lot more from acoustic rehearsals, I think.
I think yeah,
A lot
noise.
of the time, when you're songwriting,
Yeah,
why
noise
not just
can
do it acoustic?
kind of confuse you a little bit. Whereas yeah, strip it back. But rehearsing at a pub used to be good fun. 'Cause obviously you go down, get a pint. We used to get a Chinese afterwards. Listening to you guys, how hard you worked, we were pretty chilled in terms of once a week.
I don't know. I always wonder whether or not that was the right thing to do or
That
not.
you overkilled it a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Alex used to get together on a Friday and just talk band stuff, work on songs, the boring admin side of being in a band, sorting out videos. 'Cause we used to do all of our own videos just because why not?
Well, that's the thing. Did we, by practicing too much, take the fun out of it?
Definitely.
We often
You
come
probably
back to
made
this,
it a job, really, didn't you?
Yeah, you lost sight of why you're doing it in the first place. And
Yeah.
you kind of, we were very careerist, I guess. This is going to be our job, so we have to work hard. We have to do it every night,
Yeah.
and that's not how inspiration works, really.
Well, that's how we
But it
say
doesn't
with
work once a week either. I
with your
suppose.
songwriting, isn't it? It's like how you would say, right, you've got to write songs on this day.
Yeah,
It's your job. To
Tuesdays.
write songs on this day.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once money came into it, and I
Yeah.
was being essentially paid to write songs on a
Mm.
Tuesday, I felt like, well, I've got to come up with something. I can't
Because
just
the guys
sit
might be happy.
in my pants all day.
Yeah.
I mean, you can write songs in your pants. That's
Sitting
That's
in
not
my
really the issue.
pants, Sitting in my pants.
But the point is, I felt like I had to come up with something, and that's probably not the best circumstances to be inspired in, looking back. But you don't, it's all a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure that's what professionals are doing, and they how they're writing. Like, how if you're trying to write for a new album, this is your job. When are you going to do it?
Yeah, and you've probably been set a deadline. We need the new album out by this time.
When,
But
how are you going to do it? Otherwise, you've got to sit there in a daytime,
How-
I guess. And
how to deal with that pressure? I mean, I'd love to talk to somebody about how they,
Yeah.
when they've got a proper big record company demands on them.
And they've had a good first album, and it's like
Yeah,
the pressure's on.
you've got to repeat that trick.
See you around here.
Yeah. Freddie Cantley, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Anyway, should we move on to Band for Life?
Let's do it. Well, I think we've discussed rehearsal rooms thoroughly. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is our regular feature, Band for Life. So.
Do you want me to explain the concept?
Oh yeah,
Just
of course. I
for
always forget
any-
this. Yeah, go on.
If this is your first listen, what have you been doing? Enjoy the back catalogue. But we ask a listener to contribute 2 bands. One that they would listen to for life, their band for life. They could listen to just that one band or artist for the rest of time and still enjoy it. And then another artist or band who they would erase from existence. So they wouldn't, they're not killing them, but their music wouldn't exist. So hit me with.
So I got a message from someone we know, a friend of ours, but is a regular listener.
Mm-hmm.
His name is John, and he messaged me to say that he'd been listening to the podcast. And what did he say? Is this
I imagine he said he's thoroughly enjoying it.
He did.
What?
Said you're the best one, Steve, out of it. What did he say? Bloody, I've lost it now. Oh, I've been listening to your podcasts. There's some really cool people on there, so you must be listening to the ones that we've been interviewing.
Oh, right, okay.
And I think it will be helping more people than you know.
Oh,
That's how he started, and I was like, "Oh, that's really nice because
that's nice to hear.
yeah." And
So that's the whole point, isn't it?
I hope that's true. So anyway, I asked him as we chatted a little bit about it, and I asked him to give me his band for life.
Mm-hmm.
So and he has,
Okay.
and a reasoning behind. So he's given me Jack Garrett,
Mm-hmm.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Right. Well, this is going to be hard because I don't know who Jack Garrett is. Can you tell me a little bit about Jack Garrett?
If you give me a minute to Google it.
I'm going to assume because I haven't heard of him, he can't hate.
Yeah.
So I think
I've used this thought process before.
I didn't know he hated the Chili Peppers, but I'm going to say that that's who he's going to ban.
Okay. And what would you? Yeah. Yes. Correct. And would you like me to read the Chili Peppers bit or the Jack Garrett bit?
Give me the Jack Garrett. I enjoy the negative more, so save that for a second. So tell me about Jack Garrett because I don't know who that is.
For starters, I just love his music. But more than his music, it reminds me of both the best and worst moments in my life. And any music that conjures such powerful emotions mean you're always going to have a strong affinity to it. His song, Weathered, was the first dance at my wedding 3.5 years ago, which is obviously a very happy memory. But that is tempered by the bittersweet memory of the time I played it to my mum, who was slowly dying around that time. We weren't sure she would make the wedding, so as a result, about 6 weeks before, I played her that song so she could hear what the first dance would be. I was extremely nervous about playing it to her, as if you know the song, the lyrics are extremely beautiful, but also talk about his heart stopping beating and his blood turning cold. I held my breath pretty much all the way through as my mum listened to it, and after it finished, she just looked at me and told me with a smile that it was beautiful. She did end up making the wedding to the part of the wedding. Sorry, I saw Jack play live not that long ago, as he was touring his second album, which is brilliant, by the way, and he actually spent as much time talking about his struggles with mental health as he did playing music. I've struggled myself with my own dark thoughts and voices, as a lot of people do, so it's amazing to hear someone open up about it in public. But also in an honest and also quite funny times as well. We spoke about this, what we just spoke about, but he just said about struggling with the success of his first album and having all the pressures that came with trying to live up to that. I would have gone for Bon Jovi, but that's too obvious. Anyway, yeah, so there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to go and listen to...
Yeah.
Well, I was obviously at that wedding.
I know.
and
I
can't remember the song. But I'll certainly go and listen to it now.
So yeah, it makes sense. You know, we said about how it's got
It's the
bittersweet
emotional attachment,
connection
isn't it?
you
Yeah,
have with a song.
totally. A period in your life that resonates specifically with an album or a song that you've...
And most people have said that. They don't just go, this is my band for life because they're wicked, this is my band for life, their band for life because they're shit. It's generally kind of like it's got
the emotional attachment.
An emotional attachment is what most... And I think it's fair enough, isn't it? It's
it
seems like...
That's what we want to hear with these things. It's like it's genuine passion for...
Yeah.
Not just, I like that song. Drums are good on it or whatever.
But yeah,
that's fine
it
too.
makes sense. We're just speaking about the pressures that come with like writing your second album and stuff. I reckon there's a lot of people, musicians as well, that go through these kind of issues and these journeys and these.
Well, there's a whole. I suppose you've got not just the pressure for your career, but there's people at the record company and then the rest of your band or whatever, that people's lives are kind of dependent on you and your inspiration. I can't. I struggled enough with coming up with the first, trying to kickstart a career. So God knows.
Okay, and in the bin, good old Red Hot Chili Peppers.
They come up a lot in this, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They're Marmite, aren't they?
They seem to be. What's his reasoning?
I've never been a huge fan of their work, probably down to Flea's step and repeat bass line in every song. And the fact that my sister used to fancy Anthony Kiedis when we were kids. And being a stereotypical brother, I disliked anything my sister liked out of principle.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough.
Sounds familiar. However, my true hatred for them arose at university and after my flatmate, who was known for going through committed fads like only drinking rum and coke for 6 months because R. Kelly's song Ignition. He played the album, by the way,
yeah,
on repeat for a whole year.
Okay.
That he lived with him. It was akin to being psychologically tortured by the US military. Mm-hmm. Since then, whenever I hear a Red Hot Chili Peppers song, it makes me want to rip my own ears off. Mm-hmm. Except for Under the Bridge, which is a bang on. So, John, you're also going to be losing that song.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the concept. Mm. If you like one of their songs,
that's the price. That's the price you pay, isn't it?
But yeah, I think it's because the Under the Bridge does, that's obviously about real, drug addiction and all that.
Boom, boom, boom.
But so many of the lyrics seem like gibberish. Maybe I haven't read up on it. I did enjoy his autobiography, Scar Tissue. That was actually full of interesting stories.
They were in my band for life, weren't they?
Oh yeah, you went the other way with them.
I wouldn't pick them actually, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, that was just trying to form.
Kind of in hindsight, I regret that now.
Yeah, well, we can do another proper one at some point.
Okay. But yeah, interesting, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
again,
that's
it's
good.
all like emotional.
He's clearly thought about that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So, guys, if anyone wants to send us in their band for life and in the bin for life, you can do. You can email steve@bestdaysvintage.co.uk, or you can DM us and say you want to do it on Instagram.
Yeah, on all the socials, just search for Best Days Vintage, all one word. You'll find us on all the big ones. Yeah. And do go onto our website where we are selling our Failed Rockstar Club merchandise.
Yep. which is bestdaysvintage.co.uk. Yeah, and so again, this podcast is about mental health, positive well-being, and people's journey in music. And I kind of think we've covered that today, eh?
Yeah, and I think just during these lockdown times, just having some nice, friendly background noise, I think, is important for people. A lot of people message and say, oh, they listen to it while they're mowing the lawn or baking or whatever. And
Actually, I bumped into Cleo, Sue Mason's daughter.
Mhm.
And she was actually listening to the podcast when I bumped into her,
well,
and she hadn't come across your talk of Sue Mason.
all right. Well, apologies in
Her mum.
advance if you get
And
to
her
that
mum.
bit.
Yeah, so
But it was all complimentary. So.
it was, yeah. But yeah, she agreed that she fancies you. So
Good.
but
to
yeah,
hear.
so it was
It
nice.
goes
That
to
she,
show people you don't have to be good looking.
but it was nice that she was listening to it.
It was. That is nice.
Yeah, I was chuffed when I heard
Good.
when she said that.
Well.
So yeah, I think that's kind of wrapping it up. So yeah, hope everyone's okay. And yeah, don't forget you can probably should follow us. You
Yeah.
can sign up to mailing list, and we're going to send stuff through.
And do get in touch because we're all about we want to speak to you. We want to kind of keep connecting with you even though we can't see you per se. Just reach out.
Okay,
Love you.
see you around.
Bye. And you lot.
That's why watching. Oh.
There we go. Gonna finish.